All winter long, we think about using our bikes to commute to work and save money, gain exercise, and enjoy being outside on the way to work 5 days a week instead of a stuffy, boring ride to work in an automobile. This is the time of year when people start riding their bikes to work. I love biking too much to drive anywhere. It has absolutely nothing to do with my financial situation. Through the years, I have learned a lot about commuting by bike. I would like to take a moment to discuss 3 of the most significant points for beginning to commute by bike today. I would begin by talking about planning. Gear is the second thing that you need to consider. Finally, I want to give you a few tips on how to commute by bicycle safely and efficiently. Whenever you plan, you should make sure that your round-trip distance is within reach of your fitness level on the day of your trip. In fact, this is very possible for you as long as you are willing to put in the time. Logging time is about 30 minutes or less each way. But if you're willing to commit more time and more of your energy into commuting, then by all means, go for it. It is therefore important that you check your fitness level before you start gung-ho commuting. Next, you should make sure you are able to commute to your place of work a reasonable number of times each week. I started commuting by bike a few years ago, but I only commuted once a week, every week. It was then that I decided to ride every Monday and Wednesday, and eventually every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Therefore, my recommendation for you, from experience, would be to just start with a small commitment and commute once a week to where you need to be. If you are able to build up the confidence and the fitness level so that you can commute more often via bike, it is better to add more days during the week that you can dedicate to being able to do this. Your route is the third thing that needs to be planned. The best way to reduce the possibility of something dumb happening, such as getting lost, is to know the route in your head before you leave for your commute. Also choose routes that have the least traffic and are the most bike-friendly. As a matter of fact, Google Maps is getting better at giving you navigation routes that are pretty bike-friendly. The best routes for commuting will be optimized for you. Find out which side streets, alleyways, and bike paths have the least traffic, as well as what the best times to commute are in your area. It is probably a good idea to do a dry run on the weekend to see what can be improved before your first run, but it is probably the best way to plan your route. Additionally, you should keep in mind the amount of time it will take for you to complete the entire commute. This includes the time spent getting ready for a commute, the time spent actually commuting, and the time spent cleaning up after your bike commute. For biking is quite a sweaty activity. I would bet that if you're commuting and going into work, you want to look fresh and professional while you're at it. Secondly, if you're a new commuter, you will need to think about the gear that you need to carry with you. In total, there are 3 sections of gear to consider. The first thing that you need to get is the bare bones gear that you will need to commute to work. The second option is highly recommended. If you decide to go with this option, your commute will be more comfortable and safer. Thirdly, I have come up with what I call the commuter's luxury. There are a lot of things you don't necessarily need, but it would be nice to have. In terms of bare bones commuting gear, there are now 2 options available. The first option is to use a bicycle that is in good working condition. That way, you don't have to worry about it breaking down on the way home from work. Secondly, you're going to need a helmet to protect your one and only head from harm. That brings us to the second group of products. If you are unable to take your bike inside your workplace, you should have at least 2 good bike locks, a headlamp and tail light, a patch kit, a spare tube, a pump, deodorant, a spare set of non-sweaty clothes, a phone, and a backpack to carry all your equipment. You should also have some snacks, in case you need them. There's gear here to keep you more comfortable, more visible, and more prepared for any dumb things that may happen. The third type of item is a luxuries that commuters will appreciate. This includes racks and panniers that keep the weight off of your back, which will reduce back sweating as a result. It is also a fairly sweaty activity to ride a bicycle, something which can certainly be made easier with an e-bike. Therefore, I decided to make the switch from my conventional bike to an e-bike, which totally improved both my commute time and attitude towards commuting to work. Also, the third thing that you might want to consider is actually going out on the weekend and riding your commute. Let's now take a look at some tips to help you actually ride your commute, which boils down to just doing it and not putting it off. The best advice I can give to new riders is to use the road as a car would use the road. What are your thoughts on using the bike lanes? As far as I know, there is a law in Connecticut allowing cyclists who cannot utilize a bike path to use the full lane when no side of the road or lanes are available. It is pretty obvious that this formula does exist as well. But if there are no bike lanes, don't be afraid to use the full lane anyway. This increases the visibility and discourages drivers from making unsafe passes. Even though some people think bikes are only for children and sidewalks do not understand that this is the law. If you hear more honking, that means they see you, and that means you are safe. The more that you are able to ride with traffic, the more comfortable you will find that commuting will be. You will see that riding a bike isn't nearly as dangerous as people think it is. It's up to you to keep your wits about you and use your brain while riding. Keep an eye on where you're going, be visible, and make sure you're predictable for drivers. As long as you keep your eyes on where you're going, you should be just fine riding in the streets. We discussed planning, your commute, what gear you will need for your commute, and some safety tips today. Here's a question for all you veteran bike commuters out there. What is the average number of miles you log per week between the time you commute to and from school or work? The second question that I would like you to answer is, what is the most valuable tip that you've learned through experience that you could pass along to our new commuters here? Please leave your miles, tips, and comments below, and ride safely. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you out there in the fresh air soon.